Guys, welcome back to another tutorial, and we've got another image sent in. So I want to ask you guys to keep commenting down in the comments who you guys want to see. So comment people that have really good photos but not too many followers on Instagram, because that way they will send in the image for me to keep doing these tutorials. So really helps me if you guys do that. And let's get straight into this tutorial and check out his Instagram. So as you can see, I'll be putting all of his links down in the description so you guys can go find his Instagram down there, give him a follow if you like his work. And if we come down, we're going to be working with this shot right here, and I've got the settings for it. So it's taken on 14mm, really wide, so you get that really dramatic look and you fit in all the background. And you can see that with a few of his other images. So if you shoot really wide, say real close to a subject, you get this a lot of distortion in the image. So come back down, 14mm, 2.8, so that's probably wide open on his lens, and then a shutter of 1/400, and then ISO 125. So sharp, that quite fast shutter speed to expose the image correctly, and low ISO because it's quite a bright day. And yeah, let's look at a bit more of his work. So you can see these really cool tones. So we're going to be adding blue into the shadows, and then maybe a bit of warmth to the highlights, and then we're going to make these oranges pop out of the image quite a bit. And yeah, we've got to add a bit of vignette, and then maybe slightly underexpose the image. And then in this one, for example, you can see a little bit of a fade to those blacks there as well. So if you guys come up to the top of his Instagram here, click here, and here you can see he sells his presets. You guys can come check them out if you like, and yeah, you can sign up to his emails as well if you want to keep updated with what he's up to. So yeah, let's get into Instagram, see if we can create something wide, dramatic, and really cool with lots of blues in the shadows like this one. Okay, here we have the raw image that he sent me, and then the JPEG image also that's being edited. First thing we'll do is enable profile corrections, gets rid of that distortion, and then if we come back up, let's start working with bringing up the exposure. So obviously we just need a starting point a bit closer to this, and now let's drop these highlights so we look really bright in the brighter areas. And again, I say this almost every tutorial, I see people dropping the highlights all the time, and you can see why, because it just brings back so much detail and just gives the appearance of more dynamic range. Just yeah, I always see highlights being dropped. And so shadows, you can see there's so much detail way back there in these trees, and you can see in ours you just can't see that. So we're going to bring up the shadows a lot, and then that's going to really flatten out our image. But we want to do a little bit of an S-curve here, and that's going to add in a little more contrast. You can see we're sort of lacking the contrast. We could maybe bring it up a little bit here, but you almost always want to do, at least if you're not going to do an S-curve in the red, green and blue channels, you want to at least always do a little bit of an S-curve in this channel here. So we're just going to do a little one in here, and so we need to add a fade to this, and I'll just show you after I complete it. Okay, so that's the curves done, and so you can see a little bit of a fade to the darker areas. We've still got to add in a vignette, so it looks a little too bright now. If I just come down and add in the vignette, you can see it'll get quite a bit darker. That's why I added a little more exposure than you would have thought. But once we bring that down, darkens it a bit. And we still need to add a vignette down the bottom with the filters and stuff, but we won't worry about that right now. We'll try to get our colors a bit closer first. Let's come up, let's bring up the clarity So you can see that with the crispiness in the mountains and stuff, and it's quite hard to pick clarity. It's like sharpening, but yeah, you can see makes it crispy. I always describe it as a glassy look. So there, the water looks all smooth, and then if we come this way, very crispy and glassy and shiny almost. So we're going to bring that up quite a bit. Vibrance I'm going to bring down, and then saturation might bring up a bit. Okay, because when you're trying to get a moody, he's got quite a moody look to his image. The images don't have pops to the color, so that's why I brought down the vibrance. If I was going for an image that had a lot of pop to it, then I might bring up the vibrance, but we don't. So vibrance down, saturation up. Let's brighten the whites just a touch. Shadows up a bit more, so I'm looking like way back there in those trees. Down here I know I have to add in some filters, so I'm not worried about that area down there. I'm gonna bring up the shadows some more. And I might quickly do some split toning, and then I'll just get our exposure even better before I do the HSL and really perfect those tones, because you want exposure to look kind of similar before you start working with your colors. But I know I'm going to add in a lot of blue into the shadows. So say way back here, for example, we already naturally look quite warm in the image, and to see that there's a lot of blue in his image, he's gone from a very warm look to a very cool look. He must have added a lot of blue in, and I know it's the shadows because the dark areas very blue, and then there's not many highlights or whites, but those, they are kind of warm. They don't look very blue, so a lot of blue in the shadows. I might just leave split toning there. We could maybe add in some warmth into those highlights. I think we look good like that. And we'll do some really quick hues. So just changing the hues so that we get the right blues. So that's the greens. Aquas, so you can see aquas play a big role in this. I want them to be less green, so really green, go this way. Blues, there's actually not many blues in this one. Let's go about there. So these greens, there's lots of greens in the image, and I sort of want to get rid of that, so I'm gonna drop saturation of those greens, and then that sort of reveals those blues there. So quite like that. Okay, before we do any more, I want to get the lighting a bit, the exposure a bit better with some filters and stuff, and then that will help us get better colors, better accurate colors, because the closer the exposure, it kind of affects your interpretation of the colors. I'll just up the luminance of the oranges though. As you can see, there's a lot of brightness to this and the boat there and all these stairs here and stuff, so I'm just gonna do that first. And then maybe drop the yellows. Okay, let's do some filters now, and I've already placed them. So as you can see down the bottom, we've got extra darkness. So I can't turn the vignette up all the way because that will affect the entire image a lot. We only want the bottom here to have a bit of an extra vignette. So we've got a filter coming this way, and what we want to do is just drop the exposure here. And then same on this other side, just drop the exposure. Maybe even drop the highlights on this side, because highlights will darken it but make it look a lot softer. Right, and then we've got one more down the bottom here, and this one I want to up the clarity just for that foreground to really pop, and then exposure down as well. Okay, I think that looks good. Let's do the same to the sky. So we want to bring out these clouds, and you just couldn't bring them out using the vignette or anything like that, otherwise the rest of the image would be way too dark. So let's go with this one and drop the maybe yeah, just go with the exposure. And then up the top here, I just want it a bit darker for these very top ones, and we've got about the right darkness for these clouds here. So let's drop this. Okay, we'll go with that. And then we'll just do some radial filters. So over here you can see we're really bright in some of these patches. And we kind of want to go for a really flat look to the lake. We've got quite a lot of brightness here. So what I'm going to do is drop the exposure of this area. And I think what we're going for here is just softer light on the lake. That's sort of the style we're going for. And then over this side we want it a bit brighter, so it's a bit dark over here. And now the lighting is kind of even across the lake, so you've taken out a lot of that contrast on the lake, and then it gives it an appearance of softer light, I guess. And yeah, that must be the style he's gone for. And let's get into some of these colors. So now that we've got the exposure really close, let's do some colors, and it will allow us to get a lot closer with our colors. We'll just quickly do sharpening before that. So let's just bring it up a little. We don't need too much because we've brought the clarity up. And then denoise can come up a bit. So denoise can really give you a smooth looking image. Definitely test around with it. So I'll try to go before and after. Sharpening and denoise. So those blacks definitely get a lot smoother. Okay, right, HSL. Let's fine tune some of these colors. So if we go with luminance and saturation, so you can see all these tones are quite bright. If you look over in his image, so oranges are affecting all these lines back there, and if you bring them up, they begin to look quite similar there. So he's really tried to make the path, the leading lines here really pop and stand out from the image. So bringing up the brightness of the oranges will do that. And then I'll bring up saturation. Maybe, no, I won't bring up saturation yet. Luminance of the yellows. So doesn't look like much, especially if you look back at those trees there. Let's actually bring them down a bit. Probably have to bring down saturation of the trees there. Actually, probably have to bring down saturation of a lot of the colors. So I'll just knock it down here, and that'll give us a good starting point. Okay, so now let's mess with some of these colors and the saturation. So we want these oranges way more saturated so they really stand out. I think that works. Yellows, we want way more yellows as well. So that's like more the edge there. And that's just gonna help the main part of this image really pop. So if we look at, say, our yellows are really affecting they look a little too yellow at the moment. So what I'm thinking is shifting these yellows over to an orange. And you can see that really affects that ship there. So it's a bit yellow now. We want it a bit more of an orange or red. Let's shift the yellows across. About there. Greens look pretty good in the middle there. Maybe could a bit more saturation to them. So just looking to the water mainly. Doesn't really affect the trees too much. But that water, we want it almost completely gone. But then it just looks a little too blue. You can see there's still a bit of that greenish tinge there. Saturation. So aquas affecting the brighter blues. So pretty much everything in this sort of area we want a bit more saturated. Let's bring that up a bit. Blues. So there's not actually many blues in this one. Up in the sky, I think we're about good. Okay. Luminance. Maybe a bit more brightness for the greens. So we look a little deep in those greens over the water. It slightly affects the trees. Let's go with that. Because remember, bringing up the luminance of the greens will give the appearance of bringing down the saturation. So at the moment they look maybe a little too, at the moment they probably look a little too saturated, but then if we bring up the luminance, fades them out a bit because you're bringing up that brightness. And then aquas can come up, maybe a bit more of a shine to those brighter areas. And then sort of blues are just affecting the sky. So maybe a touch of a pop. And yeah, I think that's good there. I don't think we've got any grain in this image. It looks really, really smooth. And denoise especially makes it extra smooth. And then clarity will make it kind of crispy, but then you've added in all this denoise. So, and no grain. So you still keep, that's sort of how he achieves the texture of this image. Denoise, but then like clarity can give a not so nice texture sometimes to some people, but when you combine that with denoise, it can create a alright looking smooth image, as well as like a bit of a crispy look, and then no grain as well, so you still get that, still quite smooth. But yeah, that's about it, guys. Yeah, quite a few filters there, trying to even out the lighting of the lake and stuff like that. Filters down the bottom here. This is very common to do. So instead of doing a vignette over the whole image, just the bottom here, to really draw your eye up to this image, this part of the image here, and then out to this area. So that's what this sort of vignette down the bottom is doing. And then up the top as well, you're revealing lots more detail in the sky. You're also bringing your eye downward into the brighter, more important part of the image as well with those filters there. And then these ones, again, you're sort of just trying to go for that even lighting, soft light, as if it was like a really, I don't know, really calm day or something on the lake. But yeah, I think I'll just leave it there, guys, and I'll probably just move on. I'll just show you before and after. I'll just do one more filter actually right here. So what we want to do is just change it to a bit more of an orange. So it's like it's the only boat that is a bit of a yellow. So what you can do is just shift the purple. So purple will add in more orange tones. It's very close to orange, and you'll get a much more similar tone. So we're looking too green or too yellow, so it's not coolness, because then it goes very cold. It's a bit too green, so purple will take out those greens, and then we'll just make it pop a bit like in his one, like taking up saturation. Okay, I think that's good, guys. Here's the before and after now. Yeah, comment down below who you guys want to see, so I can go reach out to them on Instagram, ask them to send in a photo, and then I'll do a tutorial on them. Really helps me if you do that, and because I just can find so many more talented photographers when you comment them down below. If you guys are into LUTs and video editing, if you like my color grading of photos, you'll probably like the color grading of videos, but I don't post that over here on YouTube. It's over on the website, so you gotta check out the description down there, and you guys might really like those LUTs and the presets. You guys have been really loving those. Like, head over to martinschrader.com down in the description, read all the reviews and testimonials, and yeah, you guys will be really blown away with the value that is in that pack. There's just such variety, and they're really high quality. And yeah, comment down below, guys. Like I said, leave a like, leave a comment who you guys want to see, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.